We would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the lands on which we meet to share these conversations on the Vegan Compass podcast.
We extend our respect to elders past and present, as well as any of our listeners and guests. Hello and welcome to the Vegan Compass podcast, unveiling truths, inspiring change. We are your hosts, Ric and Mackenzie Cross.
From wherever you're listening, please be sure to like and subscribe to support this podcast. Now to the episode.
Get a countdown?
3, 2, 1.
Hi everybody and welcome to the Vegan Compass. Welcome to are we co-hosts? I guess we're co-hosts. Yeah, welcome to our wonderful co-host Mackenzie Cross.
And hello Ric Allport.
How are you this fine morning?
Good, thank you. How are you?
I am very well. Early morning, so a little bit bleary-eyed still.
Yeah, I feel the same.
But I am drinking out of our new Vegan Compass mugs and I have water, you have tea.
Woohoo!
So yeah.
Cheers to that.
Yeah. So what are we doing here?
Well, firstly, thank you everyone for tuning in. This is our first episode of the Vegan Compass podcast. So thank you for being here. Hope you enjoy it. But this episode, we're just going to tell you a little bit about our story, how we know each other, and our aims for the podcast.
Okay, so first question.
All right, I'm ready.
Okay. How did we meet?
I think it was back in 2019 through the Animal Justice Party. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, 2018, 2019, somewhere around there.
Yep. I was living up in Townsville. I was the regional coordinator for the Animal Justice Party and running as a candidate. And you were the convener for AJP Queensland. So that's how our paths first crossed.
That's right. And we never actually met in person until I moved to Sydney in 2021 and you came down to Sydney not long after that.
Only last year. It was 2023.
The
start of 2023, I moved to Sydney. Yeah.
Right, okay. Seemed like it was a lot closer in time. So that's when we actually first met in person after having dealt online for so long. So it was really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And our paths have kind of crossed in other aspects of the vegan movement as well. We're both on the board of the Animal Justice Foundation and we've co-hosted a couple of events together. The first one was the AJP conference.
That's right, yes.
In 2021. You know,
Yep.
People are still telling me that they know me from that conference.
That's cool. Yeah.
I'm like, I didn't realise there were so many people who
you're
were tuning
famous
in.
now. What can we say? But no, that was cool because I think we did have an amazing amount of people watching, which was really awesome. There was so many people across Australia who tuned into the AJP conference. And I still maintain it's been the best conference that has ever been.
I agree. We might be biased, but
just a little bit biased.
Yeah, we had such a dedicated team that did the conference that year.
Yeah, and we had such amazing guests as well.
Yeah, we did. We put so much time and effort into that.
Yeah, except you got to be on the Gold Coast and I was stuck in Sydney. You got to eat all the really, really, really good food and I got peanut butter sandwiches.
Yeah, we had amazing vegan sushi.
Oh, shut up. I don't want to be reminded. But then after that, we both went on the board of Animal Justice Foundation.
Yep.
And I think we've hosted 3 Animal Justice Foundation awards together.
Yeah, that's
right. Of course,
right.
this year was the first time in person.
Yep.
At the Animal Rights Forum. So that was pretty cool.
In Melbourne. It was so nice to do the awards in front of a live audience because you could really feel everyone's energy and celebrating all the amazing people in our movement who were being recognised with an award.
I remember you asked me before we went on stage.
Yeah.
You said, how many people do you think are going to turn up? And I said, oh, look, I'd be happy if there was, 30 people in the room. That would be really good. And then we walked on stage and the whole room was packed. It was huge. It was just such a great feeling.
There was hundreds of people.
Yeah. I'd say at least 250 people were in the room.
Yeah.
It was just awesome.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah. What
Definitely
good
a
night.
highlight.
Yeah, absolutely.
And such a nice way to finish off a day at the Animal Rights Forum as well. Like hearing all of those amazing speakers all day and then having that event that brought everyone together
Yeah.
to celebrate the people in our movement was, it was really nice.
And then we're going to be doing it again next year.
Yes.
So in February sometime. So stay tuned.
Yes.
We'll be hosting again,
Yes.
which will be fun.
And a little side promotion note. The Animal Justice Awards are currently open for nominations. They close on the 31st of October. So if this episode's out before then,
Yeah,
get
it will make
nominating.
sense.
Nominate all of the amazing people that inspire you within the movement for an award. There's $27,000 worth of grants up for grabs. So
And don't hesitate. A lot of people leave it to the last second. So make sure you get your nominations in, nominate early, and nominate as many people or as organisations that you can think of because, as Mackenzie said, there's $27,000 in grants.
6 different award categories as well. So lots of different avenues of activism that's
Yeah.
going to be recognised.
Yeah.
I was going to say something else too and I've forgotten. Oh, you can self-nominate as well. So you can nominate yourself.
Please make sure you fill out all the details, though, in the nomination form. Otherwise, we're going to have to email you and get you to answer us back. So, yeah, please make sure you're doing all of those things.
And the website is animaljusticefoundation.org/awards.
I'm glad you remembered that.
Well, I do the social media for AJF, so I have to type it out a lot.
Yes, you are the social media queen, so yes.
Actually, that's just made me realise we haven't really spoken about ourselves. So, Rick,
Yeah.
what do you do? What's your role in the animal rights movement?
Oh, my goodness. Where do I start? I've been an animal rights activist for more years than I care to remember. I've been vegan for probably coming up close to 20 years now.
Wow.
Haven't eaten meat for probably 30, 35 years and somehow still here.
Not protein deficient?
Yep, definitely not protein deficient. But yeah, I at one point when I was on the Gold Coast, I thought I was the only vegan on the Gold Coast. And then somebody invited me to an event, and it was an event held by a group organisation called Coast to Coast Animal Friends. So I thought, oh yeah, why not? We'll go. And it'll be fun. I'll have someone with me. I'll know somebody at least. And then I was about to walk into the event and my friend rang me and she said, oh, I'm sorry, something's come up. I can't go.
Oh,
And I'm like, oh, I'm right at the door. What do I
thrown
do?
in the deep end.
Yeah, I just went, oh, well, stuff it. I'm here. I'll go in. So I went in and I found this room full of vegan people.
That's
And
amazing.
it was an amazing night. I got to meet Philip Wallen and his wonderful wife Trix and sat with them and didn't realise he was going to be the keynote speaker
Wow.
on the day. And so that was awesome. I also, of course, met Shane White from Coast to Coast Animal Friends, who has now become a lifelong friend and an inspiration for me. So I became a director of Coast to Coast Animal Friends probably a few months later, and then I became Animal Justice Party convener. So working with amazing man Lyndon Cox and a couple of others to get Animal Justice Party working in Queensland. And then, of course, meeting up with Mackenzie online. But also during all that time, I ran and still sort of run a street cat rescue team called Rescue Ninjas. What else? I'm currently working with Kangaroos Alive, which is amazing because the kangaroo is so misunderstood in this world,
Yeah.
and the governments keep saying they're in plague proportions, but we know for a fact it's not. Kangaroos Alive made the movie Kangaroo A Love Hate Story, which blows the lid on all the lies that are happening. And we're coming up to World Kangaroo Day if this comes out beforehand. So that's on October 24. So hopefully this podcast will come out before that.
Yeah.
But if not, you've missed it.
Go and check out their social media anyway. and
come back to the social media.
Yeah, see how World Kangaroo Day went this year.
We've got lots of things happening, and we've got protests against Adidas happening because Adidas is one of the big three in sports manufacturers. Nike and Puma have agreed to stop using kangaroo leather, which they've now done. Adidas is the only one of the big three that are holding out. So we're
Yep.
going to be doing a big email blast to the CEO of Adidas
Yeah, great.
and working to get him to say, yes, we're going to stop kangaroo leather coming in.
Well, there's no reason not to anymore
Yeah.
when other brands like Nike are leading the way.
Yeah, and they've got different synthetic options which are turning out to be much better. So, yes, it's time for a change. And we've got protests happening in South Australia, in Victoria, and in LA.
Wow.
There's going to be one. In Netherlands, there's been one. We've got screenings of Kangaroo, A Love-Hate Story. We've just had a screening in Lima, Peru.
Wow.
Because apparently Peru is one of the biggest importers of kangaroo skins and kangaroo products. Yep.
I wouldn't have realised that.
Yeah, so yeah, they're big and heavily into it. So we had a really good screening there. There's a Canadian crew who want to do a screening of the movie. I think LA might do a screening of the movie. And yeah, so there's so much happening. It's been really cool to be working with them.
That's amazing. And I know you've personally been on a little bit of a journey the last couple of years. I'm not sure if you want to talk about it, but you had a stress-related heart attack that kind of changed the way you were involved in the animal rights movement. And now you're kind of finding your feet again. And it's really great that you've landed this job in an aligned field of work.
Well, yeah, it was back in 2020 and I had a massive stress-related heart attack. I didn't look after myself. I was 24/7 in animal rescue and in animal rights. If you're hearing a little clicking noise in the background, that's Louie the cat who's chasing something. So yeah, I was 24/7 in both animal rights and animal rescue. I didn't pay attention to blood pressure issues. I thought, oh no, they'll just settle down. And apparently it didn't. And so yeah, had a massive heart attack, but luckily survived and got through it, but I had to step back from activism and Animal Justice Party. So it's taken a number of years to get back involved. But I'm feeling good again and I'm feeling empowered again. And now I mentioned the word empowered, I'll mention my book.
Do it.
I have released a book called The Empowered Activist, and it's all about self-care and animal rights activists looking after themselves. And it's available now, so I'll somehow
We'll put it in the show notes that are
That's
linked
right,
to
we
purchase
have show
it.
notes. Yeah. So yeah, we'll put it in the show notes and you can purchase it and use it because we are losing too many animal rights activists and we need more of us to be empowered and be looking after yourselves as well as looking after the rights of animals.
It's the only way you can do it, long term in a sustainable way, because the amount of stuff we see every day, the animal cruelty footage on social media, on the news, just within our animal protection community, it's really hard to bear the toll of that. So you need to be able to incorporate some of these self-care strategies into your life.
I think also we fall into the guilt factor.
Yeah.
If we're not doing something for animals always, we feel guilty.
Yeah.
But the thing is, if you don't save yourself, you're not going to save animals.
No.
We have to look after our own mental and physical health to be the best possible activists we can be.
I'm just looking at my naughty cat who's jumped up on the kitchen bench. We're probably going to have lots of little quirky guest appearances from my rescue cats.
I can't wait for a tail to walk through the back here.
Hopefully not jump up on the table.
Well, that's a cat.
Yeah.
Okay, enough about me. Let's hear about your story. What brought you into animal rights? How did that all happen?
Yeah, I think I have a slightly unique story because I made the connection at a really young age. I grew up as someone who loved animals so much, particularly like the movie Babe and Charlotte's Web had quite an impact on me when I was really young. So I went vegetarian when I was only 9 years old. And then vegan when I was 15. And thankfully,
so how did, sorry to jump in.
No, you're right.
How did it's a very unique story. How did your family and relatives and friends react when you went vegetarian at 9 and vegan at 15? That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, my parents definitely thought it was a phase when I first went vegetarian. My mum would make me eat meat once a week because... No, she was trying to do the right thing. She didn't know anything about being vegetarian or, vegan wasn't even on the cards then. But I was young. She was worried about me not getting enough nutrition in my developing years. So she would make me eat meat once a week. And I think, honestly, she thought it was probably just a phase that I was going to come out the other side of. But then I got pretty adamant about not wanting to eat that meal once a week anymore, and I would refuse that. And I think that's when she realised that I was a bit serious. And especially lollies. You know, a lot of lollies contain gelatin. And she was like, you know, what kind of kid refuses lollies because they have gelatin in them? Okay, I think she's serious about this. And yeah, bless my parents. They took me to a dietitian, which was really amazing support to have at that young age. So I was able to get some guidance on, being healthy as a vegetarian. And I started cooking my own meals from a really young age. So it was great to have that life experience of cooking in the kitchen. And then I went vegan at 15 after seeing a video on social media. I think it was from PETA or Animals Australia, one of those organisations. And it was about the dairy and egg industry. And it was funny because around that time, a lot of people had been asking me, oh, you still eat dairy and eggs. Is there any issues with that? And I would say, oh, well, no, because a cow doesn't die to produce milk, or a chicken just naturally lays eggs. Like no one's dying for an egg. And seeing this video that showed the truth about the dairy and egg industry absolutely rattled me, and I went vegan overnight.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
Didn't look
amazing.
back.
Yeah. And so that sort of story brings us to how you then became an activist.
Yeah. So I grew up on the Sunshine Coast, and then once I had finished high school, I moved up to Townsville in North Queensland because I wanted to study at James Cook University. I did environmental science there. And moving out of home and having to, be more independent, I found a lovely group of vegans and like-minded people. Townsville sounds like a very unlikely place to find a vegan community.
Yeah, I've got to say I'm blown away when somebody told me, hey, we've got this amazing person who's in Townsville. I'm going, what? Really?
Yeah.
Like Queensland is the redneck state of Australia.
Yeah.
And to find there's a vegan group and a vegan person in Townsville blew me away. It was amazing.
Yeah, we had a really tight-knit community for a few years there. There was an animal sanctuary. We had monthly vegan potlucks, so we'd all meet up and bring a plate of food to share. Then we started a Anonymous for the Voiceless chapter in Townsville as well, so we were doing street activism there. That's where I met my now husband Brody as well.
And that's a beautiful story as well in
Yes,
itself. So.
Yes. Yeah, not many people get to say, they met someone who was already vegan and fell in love and it all worked out like a fairy tale.
And Brody's a really nice guy.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. No, he is. Everyone loves him.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I worked in the environmental science field for a few years. Then I became really disenfranchised because it felt like I was giving so much energy to something that was having such a small impact in the grand scheme of things. And I started volunteering doing social media for the Animal Justice Party during the federal election because I was running as the lead Senate candidate. So I was doing my own social media as a candidate and also for the AJP Queensland. And I just fell in love with using social media as a platform for sharing animal rights messages. So I started studying social media. I did an online diploma of social media marketing, and now I run my own business called Total Ethics Media and Marketing.
And it's so successful. It's amazing. It's so I watched you blossom from the first day you told me I'm going to do my own business, and you're going, oh, I'm not sure how it's going to work. Now you're overwhelmed with the amount of work that you're getting, and it's all ethical. It's all vegan based, and I just love that. That's just so awesome.
I'm not going to lie. I really struggled for probably the first 10 months. I remember it was probably this time last year I was thinking, I just don't know if this is going to ever eventuate. I had one vegan client and a couple of other clients that were in the environmental space but not vegan space, and it just wasn't aligning, and I had to make the really challenging decision to let go of those non-vegan clients to open up the space for more vegan work to come in. And some kind of switch just flicked in the universe, I don't know, and it's all just fallen into place this year. As you said, I'm really busy. I'm actually at capacity at the moment.
And what's the company's name?
What do you mean?
What is your company's name?
I've already said it.
Have you?
Yeah.
Okay, just checking. Say it again.
Total Ethics Media and Marketing.
And how do they get in contact with you?
Social media, I'm total.ethics.socials, I think. I'll put it in the show notes.
Yeah, we'll do it all in the show notes. It's early
sorry.
morning.
Sorry for
Excuse us.
my weird facial expression. I thought you meant what was the name of the first vegan client.
No. But actually, funnily enough, what was the name of the first vegan client?
Vegan Australia.
How awesome is
Yeah,
that?
and I'm still, a year and a half later, I'm still working with Vegan Australia doing
Yeah.
their social media, which is really great. And all of my clients now are vegan or animal rights organisations, which is really special. So I offer social media marketing, but also one-on-one coaching to upskill in social media, also brand photography, what else? Social media strategy, social media ads. So, yeah.
Now, your latest client, and I've noticed all the socials going up, is about families and bringing up vegan children. Is that correct?
Yeah, so there's a new charity that's just launched this week, Growing Plant-Based. So they are a Australian charity all about helping parents to have the resources to raise healthy, happy vegan kids.
That's awesome. That is so cool.
Yeah, and their founder, Sarah, is really, really lovely. She's amazing. She's got 2 twin boys, and that was her, big reason for wanting to start this charity. Because it's not just about kids and their health, it's also about the planet and about compassion. Like, children have such an innate compassion towards animals. It just makes sense to nurture that in children.
Well, the old saying is, if you put a child in a cot with a chook and a apple, they're going to eat the apple and cuddle the chook.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, this is what people forget, that we're indoctrinated from youth, from early childhood, that it's fine to be eating meat and there's not a problem, and there's this disconnect between animals and food, and we don't grow up knowing exactly where our food is coming from. It's just put in front of us and we're told to eat it.
Yeah.
So there's a huge disconnect. So to be able to have this new service organisation who can explain to people how to bring up vegan children, that's awesome.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Shout out to them and check them out on Instagram. They just launched last week, so they could definitely do with some following, some commenting, some bolstering them up.
We'll put that in the notes as well. We're going to have so many things in the
Yeah,
notes.
we are.
It's not funny. Okay, we should move on.
Yeah, should we segue to...
We should segue.
Why are we starting a podcast?
Look, I think it's about finding out what people are doing in the animal rights space.
Yep.
More so than their stories. There are many podcasts out there talking about how people became vegan and their vegan story. And sure, that's all very legitimate and it's really cool to hear.
Inspiring.
Yeah, it's inspiring.
Yeah.
But I think we're more at the point of, we want to emphasize, I'm not sure if that's the word, the important issues and things that people are doing right now, here and now. Yes,
Yeah.
we'll hear a little bit of their backstory, but it's more about their journey now and what they're doing.
Yeah, I think as well, everyone has such a unique skill set, like me doing social media, for example. Other people, like, say, Ayanthi, who's a vegan psychologist, or,
There are so many.
There's so many diverse perspectives or avenues that people are using to advocate for animals. And let's create a space where we can talk to these people and celebrate all of the different ways that people are advocating for animals and veganism.
Yeah, we're going to be talking to many people. So we'll have Mick and Kate from Kangaroos Alive, of course. Ayanthi, who you've just mentioned, who's an amazing activist and vegan psychologist. We'll have Clifton Roberts from the United States, who was twice a US presidential candidate. He is an amazing man, beautiful man. He inspires me so much. There's a friend of mine in the States, Christopher Amoruso, who is an incredible... Oh, my goodness, where do I start about Christopher? He's incredible. He's an animal rights activist. He runs a sanctuary. He rescues animals. He's an amazing guitarist. He is incredible artist. And he is a celebrity photographer. So, you'll get to meet Christopher and see exactly what he does. Who else? There's so many people.
We'd also love to talk to Emma Hurst and Georgie Purcell from the Animal Justice Party, because they have a very unique perspective in the Australian Parliament using legislation to get change for animals.
We'll talk to Bruce Poon, of course, the president of Animal Justice Party and Animal Justice Foundation.
Yep.
He's got a very unique story about where he's pushing forward.
Yep. Yeah, there's so many people in our movement. That's just a snippet.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So do we want to talk about the name, the Vegan
So
Compass
the Vegan
podcast?
Compass, what does it mean to you?
Yeah, I guess the Vegan Compass. So to me, a compass, it's giving you a sense of direction, right? And for a lot of people, veganism is an ethical standpoint. So I really liked the concept of a moral compass. So I guess that's where the Vegan Compass came in. I guess veganism is our moral compass. And where's the true north pointing? Hopefully a vegan future.
Yep, a completely vegan world, which would be seriously awesome.
It would be.
So we also have a little motto.
Yes.
It's called Unveiling Truths, Inspiring Change. And that's what we hope to do here. We hope to actually unveil many truths and wake some people up who may listen to this who aren't vegan or following a plant-based lifestyle, or even think about animal rights. So we're trying to unveil the truths by talking to all the different people. And then inspiring change. I think that's really a way of trying to change for the future and see if we can create a vegan world or a predominantly vegan world. It's a huge challenge, but when you consider so many people are now starting to wake up to all the changes, I think, way off in the future, I think a vegan world will be possible. I think it will be necessary as well because of all the environmental changes. I think the world has to wake up.
I just hope it's not too late in terms of a climate change perspective.
Yeah.
But I don't want to focus on the doom and gloom of that because it can feel like such a burden to carry the weight of that, the cruelty that's happening to animals every day, the exploitation of people who are working in slaughterhouses or those who are going to be affected by climate change. So let's focus on everyone in our movement who is taking little steps, and collectively all these little steps stack up to something really powerful.
Well, when you think we have so many vegan markets happening around Australia now, of course, Queensland has incredible vegan markets. Sydney has some great stuff. And of course, we have World Vegan Day coming up. There are so many positive changes. While we're, doing the podcast, we'll also share you some of our favourite recipes or, not so mine because I don't really cook that well, but we'll share with you some delicious treats and ideas of where to go and different products that you can be using.
Yep. And we're also going to release a weekly news episode. So we want to summarize all of the news headlines that cover veganism, plant-based, alternative protein innovation, all of that sort of aspect so that you can keep up to date with all the positive stuff that's happening in the vegan movement.
So that will be an audio podcast and it'll go anywhere from 15 minutes to 30 minutes. So summarising as much as we can fit into 15 and 30 minutes.
Yeah. And I guess it will vary week to week depending how much news there is. But we want to be bringing you inspiring guests and propelling forward the amazing work that people are doing in the movement, and then also keeping everyone up to date with what's happening.
Yep, that sounds good.
Is there anything else we need to mention?
You've made some notes, which I think is really cool.
I just had a skim over. I think we've covered everything.
Yes, I think it's good. So I think that wraps us up for today.
Yeah.
Thank you for tuning in. We really appreciate it. And if you can share this with your friends and tell them to get on board. And we look forward to having guests and you listening into all the different guests and seeing all the different guests as we progress in our podcast journey.
And send us your suggestions as well. We'd love to hear.
Yes.
Yeah, if you've got someone that inspires you that you think we should interview, please let us know. We'd love to talk to them.
Or if you want to appear.
Yeah.
We would happily hear from you. We can do it in person. We can do it online as well. So we can beam you in. We would love to have you in.
Yes.
So thank you very much for tuning in. And it's the Vegan Compass.
Get the name right, Rick.
Yeah, I'll get the name right. It is the Vegan Compass.
The Vegan Compass podcast.
Yep.
Cheers to our first episode.
And we already have merch. Okay. Thanks, guys.
Thanks so much, everyone. Stay tuned for our next episode.
See you later.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Vegan Compass podcast, unveiling truths, inspiring change.
Be sure to follow us on social media at the Vegan Compass _podcast. See you next time.